Good morning, everyone, and our distinguished Her Excellency Madam Ambassador Olivia Leslie and the staff from Embassy of Ireland in Indonesia. It's such an honor for Kanal Dengar team to do a podcast collaboration to commemorating St. Patrick's Day. We hope that this collaboration will strengthen cultural diplomacy between Ireland and Indonesia. To start the collaboration, we from Kanal Dengar team, we have several questions to ask. So, first question. During the pandemic, people tend to stay at home to quarantine themselves. Because of this matter, the work that should be done face-to-face cannot be performed as it should. From your standpoint, as the Ambassador of Ireland, does it hinder you to carry out your duties, or does it make it easier for you?
Thank you, and thank you very much for the lovely welcome, and we're delighted to be here. I think that's a very good question. I saw a tweet the other day from a diplomat in Ireland, and he said, diplomacy is a contact sport. So obviously I have some sympathy with that, because I think we rely a lot on interpersonal skills and on meeting in person, and obviously sometimes in diplomacy it's easier to solve problems if you're in the room with people and you have that urgency. So yes, I think it has been quite a challenge for all of us, particularly here in Indonesia, where it's a very social country and people love to meet and people are very open and friendly and will talk to you. So we do miss it. On the other hand, I think there are also some upsides. I think because of how we have moved to working virtually, I am able to bring together people who maybe wouldn't be able to travel to Indonesia. So we're able to get them together on Zoom, on Google Meet, etc. And what that means is that we can maybe do things that we couldn't do before. And I hope that we can keep that element of diplomacy when we recover from this pandemic, as well as going back to some of the personal meetings.
As the pandemic is still going on, ambassadors, diplomats, and embassies have to become digital savvy, like you said before, and collaborate with non-state actors and technological expertise. What about the implementation of cultural diplomacy, which mentions that digital technology skills are influential?
Yes, and when I was thinking about this morning, for diplomats, I think moving online, communicating virtually, particularly communicating culture virtually, was probably more of a challenge. But I think 1 year into the pandemic, I think we've learned a lot about how to communicate virtually, and particularly around culture. And I think we've learned a lot from our colleagues who work in the arts and theatre, because they moved their content online very, very quickly, musicians, artists, etc., because they had to move it online to survive economically. So I think we've learned, we've picked up, and we've become a little bit better. So I think it was a challenge, but I'm happy to say that we are now fully capable of working digitally.
Yeah, the pandemic pushes us to be more creative, right?
Yeah, exactly, exactly, and have more patience, I think, as well, because it is harder to engage with people if they're on the other side of a screen.
And what kind of cultural diplomacy strategy does Ireland use to enhance relations with various countries?
So we have quite a long tradition in Ireland of cultural diplomacy, and we're known as a country with strong cultural traditions and a reputation for artistic excellence across a number of areas. So for example, music particularly, a lot of people would be familiar with Irish music, with dance, with literature, with these particular areas. And our state network, so the embassies, our embassies in our network have a particular responsibility to promote culture as well. So before the pandemic and now during it, it's been a big part of our role, for example, to encourage cultural exchange programs, to sponsor exhibitions, to have concerts, to have musical exchanges happening all the time. For example, we would have musicians at our events to showcase work like that. In many countries there would be centres for Irish studies at universities. We don't have that yet in Indonesia. That's a challenge for the future. I would love to see that, a centre for Irish studies at one of the universities here. So we work across a variety of areas. And then I think it's very important to say as well that we recognise that cultural diplomacy is a two-way street. It's not just about us saying, here is our culture. We're very proud, for example, in Ireland to have a gamelan orchestra sponsored by two of our universities, bringing fantastic Indonesian culture to the heart of Ireland. The embassy has also just completed a short video project here in Indonesia and featuring musicians from across Southeast Asia who've taken up Irish musical instruments and Irish music. And I suppose that's a way of honouring their commitment to Irish music as well. So I would say we have a strategy, but what's important as well is that we try to promote Indonesian culture in Ireland as well as promoting our own culture.
Misha August Tangerbon, Kiakar Naka Kriyahandon, Vieta Bentoso Pikan, Bodenton King, Anhanger, Karimsha Fos Wikaku, Amololon, Berindunu. The Merntek from Tangerbon, Karen Keshtu, Abachton. Obian Shkea Pushkish, in our Tektos, Arnondish. Talk the whom the Krikadus, Losh, the Frisch Tardan, Arnontus. Guno, Korum, Agasakal, Flanny Look, in our Lanza. Osmodubit, Omlin King, the Ligan Earth, and Noron Kale. Fukaship, the Fagafol, Aragonglesa, Olong. Fukan King, the Fagafish, Momus Ulrea, Cashin Beach. Foliship, the Nana Lord, a landlock, in a Gercrew. It took to Gesht, Numadnil, Asmokena, Confolet. Kia Eva, Adna Faith, with Devon Cockatela, Mala, Captain Nardon, to Voctus. A freshen as Commodore, if we digna, of a law, the torrent to gal, over wood, in a shop.
So thank you so much, Her Excellency, Madam Ambassador Olivia for doing this conversation with Dengar, and regards from leader of language ambassador of DKI Jakarta.